Hello everyone, so this is another competitive game. This is going to be a replay review, as well as I'm going to kind of explain what should be happening in a game like this. Because this is a competitive match, a lot of what I'm going to be sharing is going to be related to what a coordinated team can do. So if you are playing solo, not with friends, this might not be the most effective coaching for you, but I still think it'd be rather interesting to see what a competitive team should be doing. So I will be looking at blue side for this game. Real Big Dill is the one who sent in the replay, so I might even lock on to him, talk a little bit more about his gameplay on Zul'jin. Before I get into it, I do want to kind of share the note that he sent to me. He said, June submission, another competitive game. I thought we needed to go front to back with our comps since I can't follow them in on a dive, and Mura kept jumping on me with no punishment. I don't know what the best play would be with this draft, though. And that is something that can always be a little challenging when you draft a comp that doesn't have a dedicated plan of action. I always tell people a draft, when you're getting into the game, one, you should draft with like a 2 to 3 person combo, and then draft to fill in your gaps of your draft and potentially counter the enemy's draft in those last 2 to 3 picks. So in this case, I would imagine that like the Nubarok and the Rhaegar were probably picked rather early. Anubarak's one of the best tanks in the meta. Rhaegar's still one of the strongest healers in the meta. Maybe Blaze, if you were in a higher division, I would say Blaze was probably picked first and then maybe into the Anubarak after. Zul'jin and Orphe are not very competitive right now, so they're not bad by any means. They're just not competitive picks. They're not picked in the first, like, 5 picks. So I would imagine that was kind of the pick order was probably right to left. So when you get a Blaze and when you get a Nubarok, you need to think, who is going to synergize the best with these? Blaze kind of just works with everyone, right? He's a great solo laner who can hold his own, and then when he joins fights, he joins at a flank, does a huge stun and potentially a bunker to give your team safety. Then you have a Nubarok who can also kind of dive in, and that's where your problem is. You have 3 dive heroes now, and then you've got yourself who needs to fight front to back. Now, you can do quite a bit front to back, but you got to remember they have 2 healers. So if you can't get through Murden's health 3 times, then you're not going to really be able to do anything. Now, the benefit of this is you could cocoon Murden almost every fight and have your whole team just run right past Murden. And you could even drop down a bunker. So if Murden starts trying to jump at your backline, Vala jumps at your backline, you could hop in the bunker and just waste Murden's time. So you do have solutions for either direction. The other thing, too, is against double heals and you're playing a Zul'jin, you could just stack all day long as your team peels for you. You'll get, your early and mid game will be a little weak, but you'll get strong enough in the late game that Murden won't be able to keep up. So knowing that those are some strategies, I think your draft is okay, but I usually like, if you're in this environment, I usually like to always have like a combo. If you're going to be charging in with like an Anubarak, for example, I would love like a CC follow-up. So Anubarak goes in, he stuns for 1.25 seconds, right? 0.25 seconds in a slow with his E, 1 second with his Q, and you have nothing to follow that up with. If your Blaze is in the 4-man, you can throw your Orpheus burst, but if she's not ready for the charge, then they're going to be done with all their stuns right afterwards. So this is where I would like to have someone who can follow up on that, and you guys can get kill after kill after kill. The other thing that they're going to really struggle with is, look at their team. They don't have a great solo laner. You guys have ways to send maybe 2 people up to top lane and kill their top lane almost whenever you want to. So let's talk about what I would be recommending for your team for early, mid, and late game. Early game, you want to be able to control the map, and you have probably the stronger early game because these healers don't have talents yet. You've got enough burst damage to kill anyone that you need to. And based on where the map is, you could probably take this camp relatively early. Then you can grab 3 camps, get an experience lead. So I would be ganking whoever is top lane relatively soon. I wouldn't care about fighting down the 4 down here because you're going to be going against a hyper carry, most likely the Vala, and 2 healers and a Muradin. You're not going to be able to kill this Muradin without talents. And burst is going to be rather difficult because if you jump in on really anyone, they're going to get pulled by Anduin. So Anduin's your only choice to jump to, and then Ariel can just knock you back. So your 4-man kill potential is really low. So early game, I would be ganking top and potentially even leave a second person up top. If you can never capture bot, you could throw a second person up top, and then it ruins their whole comp. Because if they send one healer up top to join, well, now you can just send your people back down, get a couple kills. So this game, you're going to win by throwing them off. They have a strategy. Like I said, you should be drafting a winning strategy. They have their strategy. You don't. And I mean, you guys might have had a plan with this. It looks like a pretty standard comp, but I would just love instead of a Rhaegar, have just something that had like a quick root, like a Malfurion, so that charge and then you throw a root and then you can throw all of Orphea's burst and you can probably kill the Anduin before the Ariel could stop until level 10 when she gets Crystal. But yeah, so hopefully this helps you out on kind of what you should be doing. And once you get Cocoon, so I'll talk about mid-game when we get there, but that's what I would be doing in the early game. I would be getting stacks. I'd probably leave Zul'jin bot the entire time, just getting stacks, and I would probably send Orphea, maybe Rhaegar, and definitely a Nubarak, and I would be sending those up top. And the second that Tassadar starts pushing, I would kill them, summon a bunch of beetles, and just like melt structures. I guess you could leave Orphea, but Orphea, you'll want her for the burst, but you could probably take both the towers by the time Tassadar gets back to lane, or by the time they send someone up to deal with it. But if they send a healer up to deal with it after you kill Tassadar, you still could take both the turrets before they do anything about it. And then just leave Zul'jin down bot to stack off of Muradin all game long. And that's basically it. That's the early game. That's what I would recommend for the early game. When you start reaching the mid game, you're going to start... Mid game for me is like around level 10, right? You have your ults. You want to be probably cocooning the Muradin and just jumping at their backline, because cocooning one healer is not going to really be able to do much for you. You could cocoon the Vala so that they don't have their hyper carry, but the problem with cocooning Vala is you probably can't kill anyone by the time the Vala goes down. So cocooning the Muradin means they have 0 frontline, and you could just jump right at their backline and look for a couple picks. If you all pick one target, you'll most likely kill that target, especially if it's an Anduin. So if Anduin ever steps up, you could just cocoon Muradin, have everyone jump in, kill Anduin, and then you could probably go for Muradin afterwards when they only have one healer. But early to mid game, I would be looking at getting value off of these camps. What do we see? We now see the camps are spawning and you don't have anyone on camps. What does double healer really struggle with? They struggle at clearing camps. They can't clear camps easily, so they have to dedicate Vala or Tassadar to deal with those camps. So I would be looking at getting as many camps as possible. And you even have a great comp for getting camps. Zul'jin clears pretty quickly. You have Rhaegar that clears pretty quickly. And you also an Adrenaline Stim Pack on Blaze. So he clears pretty quickly and much faster at level 4. You could grab as many camps as you want. And you could even send a Nubarak to just annoy them at their camps. And they can't do anything about it. Because if they continue doing the camp, they're going to burn too much mana. And if they try to fight you, you could just walk away. So you should be controlling the map and macro. It's one of the best ways to answer double healer. Really, you have a few options to answer double healer. It's macro, it's burst, or it's anti-healing. You don't really have many options for anti-healing this game. You do have a few options for burst this game, and you have a few options for macro. It's a hard map to out-macro, but, I mean, we're at a minute 35. That means if you would have gone to the camps at 1 minute, you would have had 35 seconds to do them. You probably would have had this camp done, or even this camp done. In this case, though, you guys control top, and bottom lane is going to be a little risky because you don't have a healer. So this is pretty good kiting just to stay back. Quick glance at your talents. I don't generally recommend Recklessness. My reasoning for this is purely because if you think you're going to be able to get Headhunter, it's just better than Recklessness in almost every way. Um, and if you don't think you're going to get Headhunter, Bone Slicer is more burst than any other build. Because what's going to happen is your Q makes it to where you do 50% more damage to your next 2 hits, right? Sorry, next 3 basic attacks. Then it's no longer removed. So you have to think about it this way. Generally, per Q, 8-second cooldown, right? That means that you can throw, I mean, realistically, probably 10 to 16 attacks. So you're getting an extra maybe 7 if we're conservative about it, maybe 7 bonus damage, bonus hits from your Bone Slicer. And it gives you all that mana back too. So you can basically use your regen off cooldown too to keep yourself topped off. But it gets even better. Level 7 increases the damage bonus. So and the duration of the mark. So instead of doing 50% bonus damage, you're doing 95% bonus damage. So if you think about this for a second, you could do 15% more basic attack damage. You can do 10% more basic attack damage. Or you could do 95% more basic attack damage after your third attack. Your first 3 attacks, it's a little bit better to go the other ones. But every attack after that, if you need to kill a tank, Q build will be the most deadly build. Especially if you don't think that you can get, which against 2 healers, it's going to be rare that you're going to be able to get enough kills to get that last one. So in competitive, I actually recommend this build. The other thing that it's really great for is when you get to 16, you have the opportunity of going No Mercy. You ignore armor and you do 2% of max health as damage per attack. Remember, you're going to be popping Amani Rage, you're going to be attacking really fast. If Murden dives in on you, all you have to do is either dodge his W or wait for his W to time out, and then you could use No Mercy and melt through a Murden so quickly. And there's ways to even like break it as well. So if he jumps on you and slows you, you can remove roots and slows, and then you can just kite him, and he can't do anything else. Especially if he's already used his stun, you just remove slows, and then you just kite him, and you throw a Q, and you melt him down so quickly. So that's my big thing about your build. This build is usually if you want to combo. So for those that don't know what this build usually does, is you go Recklessness, you go Arcanite Axes, you go Guillotine or Guillotine, depending on where you're from, Ensnare, and you go Wrong Place, Wrong Time. And the gimmick really is this. You ensnare someone with your ensnare, it roots them in place for 1.5 seconds. You immediately fire off your ult, which takes about a second to land. And then you're also going to throw your W, which is going to do crit damage to him. But right before your ult lands, you're going to pop your Amani Rage, cutting down more than half of your health. And you'll be lower than 50%. You'll get the bonus damage, 10% more spell damage. Your ult will do more damage because you're at lower health, and also you have 10% spell damage. Your Wrong Place, Wrong Time will do more because you have more spell damage. And so the gimmick of this build is you basically root someone in place and blow them up. Why is it not going to work? Because they have Crystal Aegis and they have Pull. And so anyone that gets netted is either going to get pulled or Crystal Aegis, and you're going to do no damage. Which is why you need to go an auto attack heavy build. Your choices are Headhunter or Bone Slicer. Okay, so you know what your early game's supposed to be. We need to win in macro. We're not doing macro. And it's so important because you're not going to win the objective against their playstyle. They have a healer for both sides. You're naturally going to lose one of them. And then whichever one that you don't lose, they're going to scale better. You need to get value off that early game. And you need to make sure that the 3 people you have together has enough damage to lead to bursty kills. So right now, you don't have enough damage to lead to bursty kills. Zul'jin can stack all day, but your burst is Orphea. She should be wherever your Anubarak is. You should be willing to roam, too. I mean, you are getting some good stacks here, though. But yeah, I think these Orphea, Anubarak, and Blaze could go together, and I think you could keep like Rhaegar and Zul'jin. Just have Rhaegar keep Zul'jin up, and then just have Zul'jin just keep stacking off of Muradin. And then if Rhaegar wants to roam, Rhaegar could go do camps. Armor and cooldown reduction. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. I would rather remove roots and slows because you could remove the root from Anduin, or you can remove the slow from Muradin. And that slow from Muradin is going to be the only reason that he'll be scary to you at all. Just press E. Yeah, you don't even need to hit a fountain. You can just press E. You want to use E off cooldown against this team because you really want to be able to keep your health topped off so that you can continue just getting stacks. Your top's going to eventually kind of wear out because they're against a healer and a DPS. So you need to be getting value elsewhere. Rather than just having the Rhaegar try to top everyone off back to back, you guys should be grabbing camps. If you start winning bot, you grab a camp. If you start winning bot again, then you leave Zul'jin here and you have everyone else roam. You've got to be decisive in your actions, though. Right now, you're playing into what their comp strategy is, which is have a healer in both lanes and win the war of attrition, basically. You never want to play into your opponent's strengths, which is exactly what's happening right now. And this is part of the reason why I always tell people, whenever I work with teams, I'm like, you should have like 4 explosive combos that you draft for, and then you should have like 2 pocket strategies so you can beat teams that are just higher ranked than you or higher division than you. Again, you should be able to remove the slow with your activatable, and that's why it's so important. You could back, but you also have a fountain, and you'll also have your E available. So they won the first objective because they played to their comp, right? They put you guys into a war of attrition. One of your lanes was guaranteed to be in a war of attrition, and they won that one. Nothing against your playstyle. You guys actually played pretty well, given the situation they put you in. Which is great. If you have a team that can always play well, and you only lose to, like, strats that you're not prepared for, that's pretty good, as long as you can keep your head up and learn how to answer that the next time around. Here, let me decrease the volume. This is probably so loud for you guys. Let me drop that down to like an 8. I didn't even think about that. I just looked over to my side and I noticed that, you know what, I'm even going to drop down the volume of me a little bit. I apologize, guys. I was doing some other editing and some other videos. And I had to change the audio around because I was using a different mic, and it's just been kind of a mess. So you're sending your whole team down. Anub'arak should be diving in right away. The problem is where's Anduin? Is he just going to pull? Oh, they must be on a camp. So, good kill. What are you going to do with this kill? You have Blaze that's on his way back up. You've killed one person. You know that they're down a healer and kind of a DPS. What do you want to do? You can make a 5v4 anywhere on the map. I'd imagine they're on one of their camps. So do you want to go for one of their camps? Anub'arak's out of mana. So do you want to go for one of your camps to match the camp that they're getting? What do you want to do? Because you need to be decisive about it. You're going to go for one of your camps to match one of theirs. So your team needs to understand what you're risking, what you're giving up. Can't take any risks. Can't take any unnecessary risks anyways. So now they're going to go for this camp down here. What do you have right now? Is there a world we could invade that? Or are we just going to match? Because at level 10, you have to look at your comp and go, can you win fights post 10? Do you have like an explosive combo? And that's them just walking away from fights is why I said your guys' draft needs a follow-up CC. Your only CC that you have is Anub'arak, and all he can do is stun for 1.25 seconds. So if you guys don't have a really strong follow-up, your draft just isn't complete. So if you, instead of Orphea, say you went like Kael'thas, which, I mean, he's not the greatest mage, but at least he has a 1.5 second stun to always follow up, right? Jaina, I mean, she's got slows, but nothing, she's not really bringing anything that Orphea isn't really bringing right now. But like a healer that can throw some CC to follow up. Even a Brightwing could throw a polymorph, you know. This is the cool part about having Zul'jin, though, is if you do ever get a kill, you can play pretty aggressive. With Zul'jin and Nubarak, you can almost always take structures. And you guys did that down 10s, too. So, again, the enemies have a pocket strategy that they brought out this game, and you guys are still playing really, really well into it. You just need to know what it's supposed to do and how to play around it. Tazdingo, your Ferocity. Ferocity's okay. Keep in mind your Berserk passive says you can attack up to 100% faster, right? This just makes it up to 140%, right? It's an okay talent, but I would prefer Q. It's just so much more damage. Oh, there should be oils. Oil before, I mean, I'm not coaching your Blaze specifically, but you should oil before every charge, and then you should save after your charge. Once you realize where the enemies need to go to survive, you throw an oil in that direction. That was a kill. They're pushing top. Are you gaining something from this? So I always tell people taking trades like this is great if the enemy has a better late game than you do. If the enemy has a better late game than you do, you want to take trades to end the game earlier when you're the strongest. If you scale better than the enemy, you generally want to play defensive and make sure that the enemies don't get any structures. In this case, you have a Zul'jin. You scale better than most people and most teams, so I usually wouldn't take trades like this. Alright, you got 2 kills. You could potentially bait a boss. You could start the boss, and then when they show up, you could cocoon their healer, or cocoon Tassadar since he could break the cocoon the fastest, and then you could just kill Muradin or kill Anduin. And this is exactly where you guys are going. The other reason why I really like Q on is because of bosses. It's great for bosses. Yeah, they're gonna force it. This is perfect. He's gonna jump in, and you could just cocoon him. Oh, he didn't jump in. That's smart of him. That's honestly smart of him. Because if he jumped in, he just gets cocooned right there, and then Tassadar throws out an ult, but it's too slow, so you guys get the boss, and then you just walk away. This is pretty solid. I actually really like that play. You knew that the enemies had to come up and either do a siege camp or try to cap the top or deal with boss. One of those three things had to happen. So you guys stood in a position where you could go. Now, here's where the problem is likely to arise. If your whole team goes for Muradin right now, they have 2 healers, they have Light Bomb, they have Avatar, and they have Black Hole. So you're probably all going to get Black Holed. Muradin's going to survive, and your team's going to burn all their damage trying to go through a Muradin health bar that's going to be like tripled in size. They're all clumped. This might be a situation, like I said, to cocoon Muradin and jump on their backline. And there's just not quite enough damage going out. Because what we saw was Orphea's ability being thrown at the Muradin here. We saw you attacking the Muradin. The rest of your team went for their backline. And Cocoon went out, but Cocoon went out way too late. It's got to be the first thing done. First thing, cocoon their if they only have one tank or one frontliner, you cocoon their frontliner and just dive their backline. They'll be too afraid to fight into your team without a tank, and then their tank will get left behind. So even if they do successfully use abilities and get away, you guys still likely lead to a kill on their tank. Muradins can usually jump away, but still. I'd be a little cautious about splitting up right now. This camp's already going to push bot lane. I would almost just stick as 5 because your Blaze is kind of your only CC. We'll fast forward a little bit. I don't want this video to go into like a 50-minute video. This is a great example of like your team's all going for different targets here. I don't know what your comms sound like, but every member of your team is going for a different target. So I would be. There's no point in you attacking Murden because you alone can't kill him. So I see that you're kind of kiting him and heading over here, which is good. But this is kind of the reason why I think the Cocoon should go onto Murden. He would be cocooned way over here, and your whole team could focus on the same targets. But now Murden's just going to be stunning you. You're going to be slowed. And she breaks out of the cocoon because it's really easy for Tassadar or even just two of their healers to break out someone from the cocoon. But if Murden's jumping on you a mile away and he gets cocooned, their healers and their Tassadar cannot get him out of that cocoon. You were stun locked from 40% to dead, so even I know some comments might say like, "Oh, you should have Taz Dingoed at that time." You didn't really have time. In League of Legends, there's a character that has a similar ability, and he can use it while stunned. He can't use it while silenced, but he can use it while stunned, I believe. Which seems overpowered, but he's balanced off of that. So, like, you're chunking this guy for sure, but again, your team's all just attacking different targets. Orphea needs to be explosive in fights. So if the fight goes on a little too long, she's going to struggle. A Nubarak also kind of wants to be explosive in fights. You want to kind of take longer fights, but even if you still can fill out the rest of your comp pretty well if your team jumps in, explodes one or two targets, and then you can clean up when the enemies have less DPS. Like if you went in and you guys killed these two, then you're in a perfect position as a Zul'jin. But if it's a 5v5 and it goes on longer than like 10 seconds, your team is at a major disadvantage compared to their team. Because their team wants these like long drawn out fights where they can get multiple heals. We're going to fast forward just a little bit. This is just cleaning up stuff. Neither team should really take a fight here. Oh, they sat in a bush. You guys did bunker. That's pretty solid. Again, you're cocooning the carry. The problem with cocooning the carry is they're just cleared the cocoon before you guys did anything. You threw all your damage on Murden. Murden popped ult, and now all your guys... I mean, Murden should die here, though. Yeah, so that's actually not bad. I wonder if... No, I mean, he should have cleared that cocoon really fast because he doesn't have the other thing. They don't have a tank. You guys could go for boss, and they already used Black Hole. So if they step up, you can basically just drop a grounded totem on them. I mean, grounded totem's not the big one, but still, like, yeah, you guys should be able to grab this. I don't think they can contest it. You can... Okay, instead of backing up, you can just do like a W to the side. But it's okay. You guys got boss. That's great. You can go for their camp here. Boss is going to push top, so you want to grab their camp. But their Murden's back up. You guys can't split off at all. And you could also throw like an oil here and maybe an oil here, forcing him to jump early. And then you guys can just cocoon him and drop him or even just stun him. Oil to reveal bushes or Blaze is going to cover bot, which is good. You've got a camp and boss pushing. This is a little tough to just let go because all you can really do now is grab the other camp since you don't have 5 people prepared to fight. But they do have all their ults except for Avatar, so it's probably okay. We're going to fast forward as they just clear and you guys get 16s. You get both the camps right before the next objective. You've got 16s. You guys should group as 5 here while they're distracted. And you should get together. Let the Killing Begin's a really solid option. The only problem with Let the Killing Begin is if you don't know how to set it up. So a great example, what I mean by this is this is a talent you take if you're gonna fight in the wave, or if your team's gonna kill one person really quickly. It's a bad talent if you can't kill someone really quickly. So you guys are fighting into a cluster against Light Bomb and Black Hole. And again, this is the fights you want to take. You guys weren't rushed here, right? You have both of your keeps, and you have a camp pushing bot with 2 catapults. You could literally just sit here or even here. You don't need to run into them. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but when you guys are ever ahead in push power, it's the best time for you to set up an ambush. But yeah, let the killing begin. Like, for example, during that fight, you had no talent. But if you had no mercy, you would have at least been doing more damage. Level 16 should be when most heroes get their biggest power spike, and the challenging part about playing Zul'jin with that talent is you have no talent at level 16. So it's like you're still playing like a 13, you know? This is kind of sketchy. You guys aren't baiting anything because they have no reason to come here, right? If they want to go top, they're going to go around the safe way, and your Rhaegar is dead. If they want to come down here, you have to jump out of a bush, which is fine, but that means you basically need to start the fight with a risky ability. You don't need to go in on the Muradin. This is another great time. Oh, you don't have Cocoon. I was going to say Cocoon the Muradin, kill the Anduin. Look at how fast you guys did like shred this Muradin though. Good stun. Oh, you guys are getting dropped from their backline. Yeah, it's just kind of awkward fights. You don't have a lot of CC, and the cocoons keep being used way too late. If I understand it was on cooldown, but that's kind of the time where you just don't take a fight. We're gonna fast forward because you guys can't do much because of the objective because you have 2 dead. And again, I wanted to share during that fight as well. You guys never killed anyone, so you had a dead talent. This right here is where, if this wave shows up, where this talent actually could get some value, right? Because there's 7 minions in this wave. There should be anyways. One of the melees is dead, but then you have the range that should still be there, but it might die. So 5 times 5, you get 25% attack speed for the fight. It's not great. It's not the 40%, but it's better than nothing. And then as long as you're attacking, it just refreshes the duration. You need to kill those minions to get that attack speed. If you're going for a burst team, I like wrong place, wrong time. Especially since you have the potential for 10% extra spell power anyways. But generally no mercy is the pick. It's just that... And you got to remember, you're also getting 40% extra attack speed here, and attack speed doesn't really scale very well. What I mean by that is it's all additive. So right here is probably where you were sending me your summary, and you said, I don't know if we should be playing frontline or not. Usually what happens when people send me like a summary of, hey, I don't know where I went wrong, this is usually the best example of it. It's usually like one of the last fights of the game. So this right here, I'm going to assume Muradin jumps on you, and your team goes for their backline, and you can't do anything about Muradin, and you can't step up. The reason why this fight is awkward is because your team is approaching it weird. So the bunker was played. You guys can now play around the bunker if you want to. But your other option here is Black Hole was already used. You could literally just cocoon him and jump in on their backline. Or you guys could reset with bunker being used and see if they overcommit to anything, and then you could just try to kill the Muradin. But I have a feeling they're not going to overcommit to anything. So Muradin's cocooned, and you guys go right in and almost kill the Anduin, which was great. Wrong place, wrong time, you kill him. And again, no one on their team died, so you had a dead talent. I do think you got a little bit of attack speed from it, because I think as you were walking up here, a minion died, because I saw a stack, but I don't think you had very many stacks. They got boss for free. Again, war of attrition. You guys, your fights have to be explosive. All right, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and you guys clear up boss. You should be able to clear up boss before the objective spawns. They're going to take a keep. Ooh, again, this is really tricky. Everyone on your team's attacking a different target again. Yeah, alright. So I'm guessing that with this fight, it's kind of your last fight here. And again, you're taking such a long fight against double healers. You need to be explosive against double healers. And so yeah, they take the objective, they take the game, and it's over. So I'm going to quit the replay really quick. I'll have to log back in, and I want to show you one thing on Zul'jin. But overall, what I'll say is you guys actually played pretty well for not knowing what their comp is supposed to do. Their comp wants a war of attrition. They want these really long, drawn-out fights that you guys are lowering your health, but their health is all just staying very, very healthy. And they took exactly the fights that they wanted to take, outside of a couple where you surprised them. Your team needs to have a better setup follow-up if you want to have an Anub'arak gameplay, right? You want to be able to charge in with Anub'arak, stun again, and then have your team follow up with another stun or a root. With Orphea, I generally don't pick Orphea in competitive unless I can abuse her other ult. That ult's okay, but most people are too mobile in this meta that people just walk away from it. You might say, oh, well, Paradox, if they're so mobile, why would you take the other ult? Because you're going to combine it with, like, Entomb. You Entomb, they're stuck in an area, and then you're going to drop down this giant zone that is going to kill the person in Entomb and force everyone else to kind of go elsewhere in the fight. You basically get to win a fight uncontested almost every time. And so that's one of the things that a lot of people just don't abuse. But I wanted to share something really quick. Let's go 16 versus a Muradin, right? And this is without any stacks. Keep in mind, this is going to be... I guess I could throw a couple stacks in there, but... you go Q, we're going to remove roots and slows, and we're going to get Q, Tezdingo. Movement speed is fine. You can also go lacerate depending on how the fight's playing out. Let's go I, and let's go No Mercy, right? So he'll usually jump in on you. He'll stun you. He'll do a W, right? I'm hoping he does a W. I hope he doesn't just int himself. He'll normally do a W, but just watch this for a second. Look at this guy's health. Look at this guy's health. He's dead. You could just stand still. You know how many times you let Muradin kind of just walk up to you and you were trying to kite him back, but he was slowing you? You could literally just walk up to him. Look how much DPS we do. We're doing 1,000 DPS. Look at Muradin's health. He has 5,000 health. You kill him in 5 seconds. A little bit less because he'll slow your attack speed, but you can remove the slow. He'll stun you with his auto attacks and with his Q, but you can kill him, and I didn't need to use Tezdingo. But with Tezdingo, I kill their Muradin every single fight, right? Even right here. I'm just going to Tezdingo right now. Like, he's gone. It's just as simple as that. The Q build is just so much damage to tanks. And look, 2 fights, I got 72 stacks, right? I mean, I attacked this for quite a minute, but still, like, this build is much scarier to Muradin tanks, but to every tank. If you go against a Garrosh and you take this talent, Garrosh will be shredded. Literally, I mean, this is the best way. This is like, you get a Jaina and you get a Zul'jin. Jaina ruins Garrosh in the early game, and then late game, Zul'jin just absolutely destroys Garrosh. It's crazy. His Garrosh gets more armor the lower health he is, but what's going to happen is he's just not going to have armor at all. So we're just going to pop this and look, just like... he did take a tower shot there, but he honestly did not last. I mean, he would have died in one more auto attack after the tower shot. It's just so much damage. To try this build out... Oh, I also didn't even have trade on when I was killing the... or even doing the DPS test, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I had trade on when I was doing this. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at... And you can even... That's what I was saying. You can throw it to the side, so you don't need to reposition. But yeah, I mean, we're doing 1200 DPS. It's crazy. So that's what I was recommending. You can also just stutter step backwards against a like a Muradin that's chasing you. And then you would still have your ult. You would still have Voodoo Shuffle to remove his slow. Like, that's really how you should have been playing. And you probably could have killed that Muradin a few times. And you would have gotten a lot more stacks. So you would have just been scarier against everyone on their team. But overall, I think your team should have played a little bit more about just cocooning the Muradin and having a Nubrak dive in, stun like, because they were all clumped. So you stun like 3 of them, and then Blaze follows up and stuns like 3 of them. You throw out a W, and you just kill them all. And even if you went wrong place, wrong time, imagine following up with that. If I was to reset talents, just to kind of give you an idea of the build you went, if you just changed a couple talents around. So instead of going Ferocity, we don't need that extra attack speed. Let's go Arcanite Axes, and let's complete quests, right? Oh god, I didn't want 6,000 on that. Hold on, let's reset talents. So we'll go Reckless, we'll go Voodoo Shuffle, let's complete quest, let's go Arcanite Axes. Tazdingo's fine. Honestly, the one you went, Eye of Zul'jin's also fine because you needed to get away from the Muradin. And then instead of going Let the Killing Vein, just go wrong place, wrong time. And watch the burst that happens off of just hitting like one person accidentally and the person that you wanted. That's 2,000 damage. If we only hit the one, and this is like 0 stacks on this, let's only hit this, right? We're looking at 868 damage without any stacks. If there were 3 people clumped together and you had Blaze stun, you had a Nubrak stun, you kill all 3 of them. Since your team was going for a bursty, explosive fight, you could have just taken these talents and you wouldn't have needed to change that much. The only talent we're changing really is Ferocity and Amani Hide, and the rest of the build is and Let the Killing. So we're changing 3 talents, but the playstyle is still going to be the same as what you were doing before. You're just going to have a much burstier W. That's if you want to add more burst to your comp. But generally the way Zul'jin's, if you're going to draft a Zul'jin, usually people draft around Zul'jin a little bit. And it's more like a Protect the Zul'jin comp. You keep him up, you get his attack range really high with Headhunter and with his stacks. You let him stack all day long, and you'll usually partner him up with like a Rhaegar to ult afterwards, after your ult's over, to kind of heal him back to full. Or you'll combine him with something that gives him a bit of attack speed, so maybe like a Tyrael, and you'll just melt through. But their team comp was playing a hybrid carry comp just better. So yeah, you have a few different ways to approach that game, and in a couple changes in your playstyle, and you probably would have won the game, but a couple changes in your team's playstyle, and you easily would have won the game. Overall, hopefully you learned a lot. Hopefully anyone else watching this video learned a lot. Thank you everyone for watching, and feel free to check out my other video. I think I'll have one more out relatively soon, and we'll kind of go from there. But thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your week.